you watching this at night? Maybe you're lying in bed, scrolling through stories, thinking you're safe because you're far from the wild places of the world. Or maybe it's daytime, and you're just curious about what really happens in the Everglades after dark. Either way, I need you to listen closely, because what I'm about to tell you isn't the kind of thing you'll find in a tourist brochure or a nature documentary. My name is Cole Ramirez, and I'm a game warden in the Florida Everglades. I've spent the last 7 years patrolling these swamps, tracking poachers, rescuing lost hikers, and keeping the peace between people and the wild. Most folks think the Everglades are just gators, snakes, and endless sawgrass. They have no idea what really enforces the law out here. The truth is, the swamp has its own kind of justice, and the rules are different, older, deeper, and far less forgiving than anything you'll find in a law book. Break those rules and you might not make it out. I've seen things that can't be explained, things that make you question what's real and what's just a story whispered around a campfire. If you think you know the Everglades, think again. Out here, the darkness isn't empty, and the things that move in the night don't care about your badge or your gun. They only care if you respect the rules. And if you don't, well, you'll find out soon enough what happens to those who think the swamp is just another patch of wilderness. So, are you ready to hear what really happens when the sun goes down? I was born in a small town on the edge of the Everglades, the kind of place where the line between civilization and wilderness is just a thin strip of cracked asphalt. My earliest memories are of the swamp, catching tadpoles in ditches, watching herons stalk the shallows, listening to the low, distant bellow of alligators at dusk. My father was a fisherman, my mother a schoolteacher, and both of them taught me to respect the land, to understand that the wild wasn't something to be conquered, but something to be lived with. I grew up with mud on my boots and mosquito bites on my arms, and I never wanted to be anywhere else. But the swamp isn't just a place of beauty. It's a place of secrets, and sometimes it takes more than it gives. When I was 16, my older brother, Lucas, disappeared. He was 2 years ahead of me, a natural in the wild, the kind of kid who could read animal tracks like a book. One summer night, he went out frog gigging with friends and never came back. They found his boat drifting near a cypress stand, his flashlight still on, but no sign of him. The official story was that he slipped, maybe got tangled in the weeds or taken by a gator, but I never believed it. The swamp kept its silence, and so did everyone else. That loss shaped me. I joined the Game Warden service not just to protect the land, but to keep other families from feeling the same hollow ache that settled in my chest. I wanted to believe that if I worked hard enough, if I followed the rules and did my job, I could keep people safe. But the Everglades have a way of humbling you. Last year, I made a call that cost a man his life, a rookie mistake, trusting a poacher's word instead of my gut. The guilt still gnaws at me, a reminder that out here, one wrong move can mean the difference between life and death. I respect the swamp, its rhythms and its dangers, but I've always been skeptical of the old stories. The locals talk about ghost lights, swamp spirits, and ancient curses, but I chalked it up to superstition, the kind of tales people tell to scare kids or explain the explainable. Still, every time I lace up my boots and head out before dawn, I remember Lucas, and I wonder if maybe there's more to those stories than I want to admit. I want to protect the people and the creatures that call this place home. But lately, I've started to realize that the swamp has its own way of keeping balance, and sometimes it doesn't need my help at all. Maybe, just maybe, it's been watching me, waiting to see if I'll learn the rules before it's too late. The Everglades at dawn is a world apart. The air is thick with humidity, heavy enough to taste, and every breath feels like it's filtered through a living, breathing jungle. Spanish moss hangs from ancient cypress trees, their roots twisting into the black water like the fingers of something half asleep and waiting. The sun rises slowly and red, burning off the morning mist in patches, revealing a landscape that's equal parts beautiful and unforgiving. My patrol boat glides through narrow channels, the engine's low hum barely louder than the chorus of insects that never seems to stop. Dragonflies dart above the water, and somewhere in the distance, thunder rumbles, a warning that the weather can turn as quickly as the mood of the swamp itself. Most mornings, I check the usual spots. Fishing camps, old hunting blinds, the places where people push their luck and the law. Today, though, something feels off. The birds are quieter than usual, and the gators I pass seem restless, sliding into the water with a splash instead of their usual lazy indifference. I spot a raccoon on the bank, standing upright and staring at me, unblinking, until I round the bend and it vanishes into the brush. It's not just the animals. The whole place feels charged, like the air before a lightning strike. About an hour into my patrol, I find an abandoned John boat wedged against a stand of reeds. It's not unusual to find a lost or stolen boat out here, but this one is different. The hull is scratched with strange, looping marks, almost like symbols, but not any I recognize. There's a half-eaten sandwich and a thermos still inside, as if whoever was here left in a hurry. I radio it in, but there's no answer. The static on the line is thicker than usual, and I make a note to check the batteries later. I push deeper into the backwater, following a trail of broken branches and muddy prints. That's when I found Earl Jenkins, a poacher I've run off more times than I can count. He's crouched in the mud, arms wrapped around his knees, rocking back and forth. His face is streaked with tears and swamp grime, and his eyes are wide with a kind of terror I've never seen in a grown man. When I call his name, he flinches like I've struck him. "Earl, what happened?" I ask, but he just shakes his head, mumbling about lights in the trees and voices in the water. He grabs my arm with surprising strength and whispers, "The swamp remembers, Cole. It remembers what you take. It remembers what you do." I try to get more out of him, but he clams up, staring past me into the tangled green. I haul him into the boat and head back toward the ranger station, but the whole way, I can't shake the feeling that we're being watched. The insects buzz louder, the sky darkens with another roll of thunder, and every shadow seems to move just a little too much. Earl's words echo in my mind, mixing with the old warnings I've always ignored. The swamp remembers. I should have listened to the warnings. Out here, the line between the natural and the unnatural is thinner than anyone wants to believe, and today, I can feel it pressing in on all sides. Back at the station, I drop Earl off with the paramedics and step outside to clear my head. The sky is bruised with clouds, and the air feels even heavier, like the swamp is holding its breath. I'm about to head inside when I spot old man Jimmy sitting on the porch, whittling a piece of cypress wood. Jimmy's Mikasuki, born and raised in the Glades, and he's seen more out here than most people could imagine. He's got that look in his eye, the one that says he knows something I don't. He nods at me, then gestures for me to sit. "You found Earl," he says, not really asking. "He's lucky." Not everyone comes back when the swamp gets angry. I try to laugh it off, but Jimmy just shakes his head. You think you know this place, Cole, but you don't. Not really. There are rules out here, old rules. You want to keep breathing, you follow them. He holds up a gnarled finger for each one. Never take more than you need. The swamp provides, but it punishes greed. Never hunt at night. That's when the old things walk. If you hear drumming, leave. Don't look for it, don't try to find out who's making the sound. Just go. Don't follow the will-o'-the-wisps, no matter how lost you get. They'll lead you somewhere you can't come back from. And if the swamp offers you a way out, maybe a dry path where there shouldn't be one, or a breeze that smells like home, you take it. Don't look back, don't question it. Just go. I try to hide my skepticism, but Jimmy sees right through me. You think it's just stories, but I've buried friends who thought the same. The swamp remembers Cole. He keeps score. He leans in, voice low. You break the rules, you pay the price. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but the swamp always collects. I thank him, trying to sound respectful, but inside I'm still thinking like a lawman, not a believer. Rules are for people, not for places. Still, something in Jimmy's voice sticks with me. A warning I can't quite shake. I broke more than one of those rules, and I'm starting to wonder if the swamp is keeping track. The next day, the call comes in just after noon. A fisherman found a body deep in the backwater, not far from where I'd picked up Earl. I grab my gear and head out, the sky already threatening rain. The air is thick, pressing in on my skin, and the boat's engine sounds muffled, like the swamp is swallowing the noise. I radio my location, but the static is worse than usual, every word crackling and fading. I tell myself it's just the weather, but I can't shake the feeling that something's off. When I reach the spot, the fisherman is waiting, pale and jittery. He points to a patch of mud near the water's edge. The body is sprawled face down, half submerged, clothes torn and caked with muck. It's Billy Ray, a poacher with a reputation for taking more than his share. I kneel beside him, checking for signs of a struggle, but there's no blood, no obvious wounds. What catches my eye are the tracks, dozens of them, circling the body. Some are gators, some raccoons, some I can't identify at all. They overlap in impossible ways, as if every creature in the swamp came to pay their respects or pass judgment. Then I see the symbols. Scratched into the mud around Billy Ray are looping marks, almost like the ones I found on the abandoned boat. They don't match any animal I know, and they definitely aren't from a human hand. I take photos, bag a few samples, and try to radio it in, but the static is total now, just a wall of white noise. I should head back, but something keeps me there. Maybe it's stubbornness, maybe it's pride, maybe it's the memory of Jimmy's rules echoing in my head. I check my watch. The sun is already sinking, the sky bleeding orange and purple through the cypress. I tell myself I'll just do one more sweep, just to be thorough. As darkness falls, the swamp changes. The air cools, the insects grow louder, and the shadows stretch into strange shapes. I hear splashing in the distance, but when I shine my flashlight, there's nothing there. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I catch a flicker of light, pale blue, dancing just above the water. Will-o'-the-wisps, I think, remembering Jimmy's warning. I tell myself it's just swamp gas, a trick of the light, but the hairs on my arms stand up anyway. I keep moving, but the feeling of being watched grows stronger. Animal eyes glint from the darkness. Gators, maybe, or something else. I hear drumming, faint and rhythmic, coming from deep in the trees. My heart pounds, and for the first time, I feel like I'm not alone. It's not just the animals. It's the swamp itself, awake and aware, judging me for staying after dark, for ignoring the rules. I try to leave, but every path looks the same. Every turn leads me deeper. The ghostly lights multiply, weaving between the trees, and the drumming grows louder. I stumble, nearly dropping my flashlight, and when I look up, I swear I see shapes moving in the mist, tall, thin, and not quite human. I call out, but my voice sounds small, swallowed by the night. That was the first time I realized the swamp was watching me. Not just the animals, not just the people, but the place itself. I finally find my way back to the boat, hands shaking, breath ragged. As I push off, the lights fade, the drumming stops, and the static on the radio clears. I don't look back. I don't want to know what might be standing on the shore, watching me leave. The next morning, I'm back at the station, reviewing my notes and photos from the scene. The official report will say Billy Ray died of exposure or maybe a gator attack, but I know better. There's no way to explain those tracks, those symbols, or the way the swamp itself seemed to close in around me. I start asking questions, hoping for something that makes sense, something I can write down and file away. But the more I dig, the stranger the answers become. I start with the fishermen, the ones who know every bend in the river and every patch of sawgrass. Most of them just shake their heads when I mention Billy Ray. He took too much, one old-timer says, eyes fixed on the water. Swamp don't like greed. Never has. Another tells me about a cousin who used to poach turtles at night, until the night he didn't come home. They found his boat, but not him. Sometimes the swamp gives you back, he says, but you're never the same. I talk to hunters, men and women who've spent their lives tracking deer and hogs through the muck. They're more guarded, but the stories slip out anyway. A man who ignored the drumming and vanished for 3 days, only to return with no memory and a streak of white in his hair. A woman who followed strange lights and was found wandering, barefoot and silent, miles from her camp. You break the rules, she says. The swamp breaks you. It's the tribal elders who give me the clearest answers, though they speak in riddles and warnings. I sit with Jimmy again, and he tells me about the old days when the swamp was respected, when people left offerings and asked permission before taking anything. The swamp has a spirit, he says, older than any of us, keeps balance. You take too much, you pay. You disrespect the land, it remembers. He looks at me, his gaze sharp. You saw the lights, didn't you? Heard the drumming? I nod and he just sighs. You're lucky you made it back. As I piece together the stories, a pattern emerges. Every time someone breaks one of the rules, takes more than they need, hunts at night, follows the lights, something happens. Sometimes it's a warning, a lost item, a strange dream, a sudden illness. Sometimes it's worse. People vanish or come back changed, hollow-eyed and silent. The community knows this, even if they don't talk about it openly. There's a kind of fearful resignation, a sense that the swamp's justice is inevitable and inescapable. I start to wonder if this is what happened to Lucas all those years ago. He was always pushing boundaries, always testing limits. Did he break a rule I never knew about? Was his disappearance just another entry in the swamp's long ledger of debts and payments? The thought gnaws at me, a mix of guilt and dread. I try to approach the investigation like any other case, collect evidence, interview witnesses, look for logical explanations. But the more I learn, the more I realize that logic doesn't always apply out here. The swamp has its own laws, its own way of keeping order, and it doesn't care about my badge or my training. I'm caught between two worlds, the one I can explain and the one that explains me. The community lives with this balance, fearful but accepting. I'm not sure I can do the same, but I'm starting to understand that out here, justice isn't always about right and wrong. Sometimes it's just about survival. It's just after midnight when the call comes in. A frantic voice on the radio, barely intelligible through the static. A child is missing from a camp deep in the glades. Last seen near the water's edge. The parents are desperate, their voices trembling as they beg for help. I don't hesitate. I grab my flashlight, my sidearm, and head out into the night. The air thick with the promise of rain and something else I can't name. The swamp at night is a different world. Every sound is amplified, every shadow deeper. My boat cuts through the black water, the beam of my light slicing through the mist. I call out the child's name, my voice swallowed by the endless chorus of frogs and insects. I know the rules: never hunt at night, never follow the lights, but fear for the missing child drowns out caution. Then I see it, a pale blue glow flickering between the trees, moving just out of reach. Will-o'-the-wisps. I remember Jimmy's warning, but desperation pushes me on. I follow the lights, telling myself it's just swamp gas, just a trick of the eyes. The lights lead me deeper, far from any trail I know. The drumming starts, low and rhythmic, pulsing through the water and into my bones. I should turn back, but I press on, calling the child's name, my heart pounding. The lights grow brighter, swirling around me, and suddenly I'm in a clearing I've never seen before. The air is electric, charged with something ancient and powerful. Shapes emerge from the shadows, animals at first, then shifting, blurring, becoming something more. A great heron with eyes like burning coals, a panther with a voice that echoes like thunder, a gator that stands upright, its scales shimmering in the moonlight. They circle me, silent and watchful, and I realize I'm not here to rescue anyone. I'm here to answer for my own trespasses. A voice, deep and resonant, fills the clearing. You know the rules, Cole Ramirez. You've broken them again and again. You take more than you need. You hunt at night. You follow the lights. Why should the swamp spare you? I try to speak, to explain, but my words catch in my throat. Guilt floods me, memories of Lucas, of Billy Ray, of every time I thought I knew better than the land itself. The heron steps forward, its gaze piercing. The swamp keeps balance. Every debt must be paid. The panther's tail lashes, and the gator's jaws snap shut with a sound like a judge's gavel. I fall to my knees, the weight of my mistakes pressing down.
I'm sorry, you whisper.
I just wanted to help. I just wanted to protect people, to make up for what I lost. The spirits confer in a language older than words, their voices rising and falling like the wind through the reeds. Finally, the heron speaks again. Redemption is not given. It is earned. You must choose. Continue as you are, and the swamp will take what it is owed, or learn and help restore the balance you've broken. The lights dim, the drumming fades, and I'm left alone in the clearing, the weight of the swamp's justice heavy on my shoulders. I realize now that I'm not just a warden of the Everglades. I'm a part of its story, bound by its rules, judged by its ancient, watchful eyes. The clearing is silent now, the air thick with expectation. I stand, legs trembling, sweat cold on my skin despite the heat. The spirits have faded into the shadows, but I know I'm not alone. The swamp itself is watching, waiting to see what I'll do next. I remember the heron's words, "Redemption is not given, it is earned." My mind races through every lesson, every warning, every rule Jimmy and the elders ever shared. I realize that this is my trial, and the only way out is through. I take a shaky breath and look around. The will-o'-the-wisps hover at the edge of the clearing, their blue light flickering like anxious eyes. I reach into my pocket and pull out my brother's old pocket knife, the one I've carried since the day he disappeared. It's the only thing I have left of him, a reminder of both love and loss. I kneel and place it on the ground, an offering to the swamp. "I can't bring Lucas back," I say, voice barely above a whisper. "But I can give back what I've held on to for too long. I can let go." The ground seems to pulse beneath my knees, the water rippling outward from the knife. The drumming returns, louder now, echoing in my chest. The animal spirits reappear, circling closer, their eyes reflecting judgment and something like understanding. The panther steps forward, its gaze locked on mine. "You have taken, now you give." But words are not enough. Suddenly, the air is filled with the sound of a child's cry, thin, desperate, lost. The missing child. I spin, searching the shadows, and see a small figure trapped on a patch of sinking mud, the will-o'-the-wisps swirling around her. Without thinking, I rush forward, ignoring the rules, ignoring the fear. The mud sucks at my boots, cold and relentless, but I push on, reaching for her hand. She's crying, eyes wide with terror, and I realize she's not just lost. She's being lured, pulled deeper by the lights. I remember Jimmy's rule. If the swamp offers you a way out, take it, don't look back. I scan the clearing and spot a narrow strip of dry ground, almost invisible in the darkness, leading away from the mud. I hoist the girl onto my back and follow the path, never looking back, never questioning. The will-o'-the-wisps hiss and swirl, trying to distract me, but I keep my eyes forward, repeating the rules in my mind like a prayer. Halfway across, the drumming intensifies, and the mud pulls harder. I stumble, nearly falling, but the girl clings to me, her small arms tight around my neck. I think of Lucas, of the guilt I've carried, and I realize this is my chance to do what I couldn't do for him, to save someone, to make it right. I dig deep, drawing on every ounce of strength and resolve, and push forward. At the edge of the clearing, the path widens, the mud loosens, and the drumming fades. I collapse onto solid ground, gasping for breath, the girl sobbing quietly against my chest. The animal spirits gather one last time, their forms shimmering in the moonlight. The heron bows its head, the panther's eyes soften, and the gator slips silently into the water. The will-o'-the-wisps scatter, their light fading into the night. I look down at the spot where I left my brother's knife. It's gone, swallowed by the earth. But in its place is a single white feather, heron, pure and perfect. I tuck it into my pocket, a new kind of talisman, a sign that maybe, just maybe, the swamp has accepted my offering. The girl stirs, looking up at me with wide, trusting eyes. We safe now, she whispers. I nod, though I'm not sure what safe means anymore. I help her to her feet, and together we make our way back through the swamp, the path clear and dry beneath our feet. As we reach the edge of the trees, I glance back one last time. The clearing is empty, the spirit's gone, but I feel their presence lingering, watching, judging. I know I've been changed, marked by the swamp, burdened with new knowledge and a deeper respect for the rules that govern this place. I've survived, but not unscathed. The Everglades have taken something from me, but they've given something back as well, a chance at redemption, a reminder that justice here is older and stranger than anything I learned in the academy. We emerge into the dawn, the sky streaked with gold and pink, the air fresh and cool. The girl's parents rush to her, tears streaming down their faces, and I stand back, letting them have their moment. I touch the feather in my pocket and whisper a silent thank you to the swamp, to the spirits, to Lucas. I know now that the rules aren't just stories. They're the only thing standing between order and chaos, between life and whatever waits in the darkness. And I promised myself, from this day forward, I'll never break them again. Back at the station, the world feels smaller, almost too bright after the night I've just survived. The girl is safe, wrapped in a blanket, her parents clinging to her like they'll never let go. The medics check her over, and aside from shock and a few scrapes, she's unharmed. Word spreads quickly through the community. Another child found, another close call. Relief is thick in the air, but so is something else. A wary respect, a quiet fear that no one wants to name. People avoid my eyes, whispering about what happened, about the lights and the drumming, about the way the swamp seems to take and give back on its own terms. I filed my report, but it's a hollow exercise. There's no way to explain what really happened, no way to put the spirits or the will-o'-the-wisps into official language. I write what I can, but the truth stays with me, heavy and unspoken. I find myself repeating Jimmy's rules to anyone who'll listen. Never take more than you need, never hunt at night. Leave if you hear drumming. Don't follow the lights, and if the swamp offers you a way out, take it. Some people laugh, but most just nod, the old fear flickering in their eyes. I walk the edge of the water at sunset, watching the sky turn gold and the shadows stretch across the sawgrass. I think about Lucas, about Billy Ray, about all the others the swamp has claimed or changed. I realize now that my job isn't just about enforcing the law or protecting wildlife. It's about respecting the balance, about understanding that some things are older and stronger than any badge or rulebook. The swamp's justice is its own, and it's not for me to question. Some mysteries remain. I'll never know exactly what happened to my brother, or what waits in the deepest parts of the glades. But I do know this: the swamp remembers, and it never forgets a debt. I carry that knowledge with me, a silent promise to honor the rules and pass them on. Out here, that's the only way to survive. Sometimes, late at night, I sit on the porch of the ranger station and listen to the sounds drifting in from the swamp. The frogs and crickets sing their endless chorus, and the wind rustles through the sawgrass, carrying secrets I'll never fully understand. Every so often, when the moon is high and the mist rolls in, I catch a glimpse of pale blue lights flickering across the water, moving in patterns that make no sense and yet feel ancient, deliberate. I tell myself it's just swamp gas, just a trick of the eyes, but deep down I know better. Last night, as I was locking up, I heard it again, a low, steady drumming. So faint I almost convinced myself it was my imagination. But it was there, pulsing through the darkness, a reminder that the swamp is always watching, always waiting. I felt the weight of the heron feather in my pocket and remembered the promise I made. To respect the rules, to honor the balance, to never forget what the swamp has shown me. So if you ever find yourself in the Everglades, remember this. The swamp has its own kind of justice, and it never forgets. Some rules are written in blood, and some debts are never paid in full. You might think you're just passing through, just another visitor in a wild place, but the swamp remembers every step, every choice, every trespass. And if you break the rules, you might find out, like I did, that the Everglades are more than just a patch of wilderness. They're alive, ancient, and always keeping score.